Welcome to another CEO Wisdom podcast. We have Paris Vega with us today. He's CEO at the Nine Digital. He's building powerful websites and marketing campaigns that attract more customers to your business. He's in Orange Beach, Alabama. I'm in Oaxaca, Mexico. He's developed a bunch of companies since the past decade or two. The Nine Digital, MyCast, Trucking Labs, Hyper Tribal, Biosphere. And so we're going to talk about all of his businesses as a serial entrepreneur. It's going to be fun. This one's brought to you by podpire.com. If you want to start, scale, monetize your podcast, you can go to podpire.com. Paris, welcome to the pod. Tell me a bit more about yourself and what you're up to nowadays.
Yeah, thanks, Charles, for having me on the podcast. Yeah, it sounds like a lot of companies when you list them out like that, but they're all at different phases of development. They're not all like mature, thriving businesses. Some of them are little startup projects here and there. But yeah, the day job is being CEO of the Nine Digital, and I joined the Nine back in 2020 as marketing director. They had been building websites for 15 or so years before that, and that was their focus, is website design and development. And then I joined on to help develop what our marketing services could be that we could offer to all those past website clients. And over the past 4 years, recruiting teams, building processes, going through trial and error of the different types of services and how to structure services and figure out what works. It's been a wild ride, and we've grown to where this year we hit the Inc. 5000 fastest growing companies list in the US. So that was really cool milestone. But yeah, we're always trying to get better and improve our services. And so that's the day job, where I'm just a lowly employee serving as the CEO right now of the Nine. It's owned by a business partner named Robbie White. He's in the visionary role, leading the overall strategy and vision for the company and helping out in production as needed. And then I'm in more of what you call the integrator role, making sure all the different teams and systems flow and work together to better serve our clients on the day-to-day. And that separation is kind of based on that book, Traction by Gino Wickman, that visionary integrator separation. So yeah, that's my main job. And then I've got a couple little side projects and other businesses I've partnered up with people on. And then some of them I'm trying to get started myself, kind of as a hobby. And MyCast is maybe one of the ones that gets the biggest kind of attention, because it was actually something I joined in 2019 and helped start to grow. It was a website that a developer at the Nine, Billy Swift, had built, and it's just about fan casting. So if you watch a movie and you notice the actors in the movie, you thought, I think so-and-so, this other actor may have done a better job. You can go to MyCast and come up with your own version of who you think would have been the best person for each role in a given movie. Or you can make up your own movie, like Ninja Turtles, Dawson's Creek, or whatever. You can just mix and mash any kind of story or whatever you want and come up with your own kind of fan fiction based roles that you can cast actors for, or some of the mainstream movies if you want. And that has just taken off over the years and has hundreds of thousands of users a month and millions of page views. And it's just a crazy experiment to watch kind of unfold. And so that's a fun one. Yeah. And so that's kind of what I do. We run the Nine and offer the website and digital marketing services during the day. And then in between all that, work on these other little businesses and try to grow them with those same skills and services that we offer at the Nine.
Very cool. And you started in music. What prompted you to switch from that to making website? Was it cash/income?
Well, yeah, when I was a teenager, I started playing the bass when I was like 11 years old and played with like people around my city. Like they got me into bars when I was like, a little teenager, because I was with the band. And so I was in there playing with people. And by the time I was graduating high school, I was like, that's just what I want to do. I just want to be a rock musician, play in bands. And it's a lot harder to get started doing that, like you're saying. I mean, there's money in it, of course, if you can, make it and, get a record deal and all that stuff. Back in the day, there wasn't, when I was in music, there wasn't like streaming services or any of that kind of thing, or social media didn't exist at that point. I mean, this was, over 20 years ago now. So it was like you really had to strike gold to make it, because there was no way to get like any kind of reach or exposure other than just the local music scene, and maybe you get on the radio, and then you could maybe get broader reach, or if you made relationships and got to tour with a band or something like that. And some friends of mine did. They went on to play for bands that got to tour and that kind of thing. But I kind of stepped out of that path and got into design as I was figuring out what I wanted to do in college. Started freelancing while I was in college. And so I was able to use some of my freelance projects as my coursework while I was in college. And so I was like, hey, I'm able to make a little money doing this. And so once I graduated, I just kept freelancing and started. It was just pure graphic design at first, designing like band album covers, CD covers for bands, because that used to be a thing, and band merch for some of the folks that I met in the music scene. And then got tired of chasing money from clients, because that wasn't what I signed up for. I just wanted to design cool stuff. And I didn't realize all the other aspects of business, like the book, The E-Myth, talks about, where a lot of times technical people who have a skill get kind of deceived that, hey, I can run a business just because I have this skill. I'm the one doing the actual work. Then you start a business and realize most of running a business isn't that one production skill that you might have. It's accounting, it's sales, it's collections, it's all that other stuff, takes up a ton of time. And I got tired of doing all that other stuff. So I took a job at an agency and got into the website world, the web design and web development and the internet marketing side of things. And so that kind of changed my path a good bit, and kind of been on that path ever since. And that was back in, 2006. Charles, your mic is muted there.
Can you be successful as a jack of all trade agency offering SEO, web pages, ads, like everything in the inventory in 2024?
We'll see. Yeah, there's definitely an argument for focusing in on one service so you can fully optimize your whole company and all your team members towards executing that service and those processes. But when if you want a lot of local customers, well, how would I say it? I guess it depends on who you want to serve and how you want to grow. Because you can grow by scaling up one service to lots of people. You just have to find a lot of people with that one specific need that you're an expert at. And that can be really good for getting in the door with maybe some bigger companies and clients, because they've got a full, marketing team or whatever. And so if you are a very clear specialist expert at one service, then yeah, they can easily say, we'll just hire this expert into our big, huge machine and we'll be better at that specific thing. Versus, you're dealing with a smaller company, how they need everything. And so, it helps to be able to offer everything. And I've seen it kind of happen as a mix between both of those things, where you start offering one service to a big company and then they find out you do something else. They have another need that you can serve. And if you don't offer that thing and they don't have anybody to fill that need, you might be like, hey, we don't offer it now, but we could. We could do that thing that you need. And so I think that's how the 9 Digital kind of ended up expanding its services. It was, you've got a stable of clients with these other needs that you could serve if you chose to, if you wanted to expand there, and they just slowly added more and more services. And then, so now some companies like to come to us because they don't have to manage multiple vendors. You know, they don't have to hire a full team of or more people, but they just know that we can handle their website, their digital marketing, their SEO, their lead gen, and we can be like the marketing director's secret weapon at these bigger companies.
Right. I think you're right in saying that locally these can work well, right?
Mhm.
Won't get into the explaining of that, but I think, yeah, there's less competition, generally speaking, locally VS than big agencies like mine prospecting the full world in the US, for example. Um, I think still that one lead magnet to get people through the door, like one specific door opener type of offer, uh, serve them on that offer, and then expand to the full offering slash upsell them is the way to go.
Yeah.
So, what would be your door opener as a lead magnet as a first offer to them?
Um, we've tried different things, but I don't know that there's one like single proven strategy because like we've tried to focus on specific industries at different times. And we'll say, hey, we're going to focus on this industry, make a lot of connections in that industry and have a lot of conversations. And it ends up being like learning what that specific company needs and then offering that service that solves their biggest need, you know, that biggest pain point that they have, that we happen to offer. And if we've already got a clear process built out and service defined for one of their biggest problems, you know, we would just start there. But as far as trying to attract people with some kind of good inbound marketing lead magnet, we've tested out different things like, you know, articles in different industry related journals, you know, publications or webinars, podcasts, those kind of things. So I have a podcast called the First Customers Podcast where I'll talk to, you know, business owners about how they got that very first customer, because that's such a important, dramatic moment for any business or entrepreneur. When you get that very first paying customer, it's like a life-changing milestone. And so I was in 2019, I had left one project and was figuring out what I was going to do next. And I had started several little projects, some of the ones like we mentioned today, MyCast, and some others I'd gotten involved with. But I was trying to figure out how to get a customer because I had done sales before. I'd started a web design and development company years ago called the Web Craftsman, had to do sales and design and had a web developer business partner for that. But when it came to like building a software product and trying to get new customers or building, you know, any given service, I realized I had a huge gap in knowledge. And so after failing very hard for months and months, I realized I needed to educate myself. And so that's where the First Customers Podcast came from. I wanted to learn from other business owners who had done it successfully, how they got those first customers, because it was such a huge question mark in my head about how, like, what was a proven way to do that. And so that's what that whole podcast is about, is how to get customers. And I've learned a ton, and it seems to boil down to, after doing over 60 episodes, having conversations with the people you want to serve and really listening and asking them for feedback instead of just asking them for money, you know, directly asking them for feedback on your ideas or on your ideas for solving their problems. And if they would pay for something like that, you know, and having kind of a more collaborative approach to building out your business instead of, here's something I want to make, and now let me go find all the people who need it before you've proven that it's a true need, is a risky way to do it. If you're a veteran, you know, entrepreneur, a lot of people, they've been through it so many times, they already know the kind of problem, pain points, and the target market, and they can build that specific solution because they've kind of been through it. If you've been in one industry your whole life in one position and you've got a very deep understanding, and then you launch a startup that solves some pain point you noticed, you know, that's a little different. You've already done that education. But if you're just building something because you want to build it, and then you're going to go try to find customers for it. And I think a lot of developers and SaaS folks get into that situation a lot, but that's the hardest way to start a business for what I've seen.
So how did you get your first customer, and generally speaking, after interviewing that many guests, what has been the most interesting slash insightful answer or set of answers you've got?
All right. So I guess my first customer would have been way back when I was freelancing, and it was a friend of mine who was uh, launching a compilation of local artists, and I think I designed his CD album cover. That was one of the very first customers. And then another friend of mine who was a musician, he was launching his album, designed his cover. And there was probably a couple little business logos. I can't remember exactly which one happened first, but it was totally based on personal relationships. Somebody had a need. I had a skill that I could solve that problem with. And that's how it happened. And then over the years at the different, it's different for each of the businesses I've been involved with. One of the customers I got, I always had seen this building in my city that I really liked. I thought it was a cool like architectural design. I drove by it a lot. And so one day I just cold email the company, who I guess I found the owner's email address or the lead architect person because it was an architectural firm. I was like, hey, I've always loved your building, love the style, all this. If you guys ever need help with your website, I'd love to work with you. And it turned into a sale. They invited me to come to their office. They were appreciative because I was just kind of fanning out towards them and telling them how much I liked their stuff. And that was one of my clients for my old, I guess it was the freelance web design work I was doing at the time and learning how to build websites in WordPress back in the day. But yeah, so just there's lots of different ways of getting those customers. And so on the podcast, I think one of the most interesting ones I heard was this guy who he was a like consultant at something like McKinsey or, Ernst & Young, some kind of big business consulting firm. And he saw a need and ended up, I guess, using some savings to build out some software solution for it. And then used his relationships to kind of contact somebody in his network to see if they would want to buy it. And he ended up getting a huge deal, and they built this software and it solved this problem for this big company. But after that, they did zero marketing, zero advertising. The only thing they did was at like an annual meeting, like a conference that they did just for their customers. Nobody else was invited except the people who use that software. And it was just a meeting for the customers. And he said that they would end up upselling each other to other services that company offered, or that software offered, other features or that kind of thing. And so basically he built a community based on his product. And I thought that was really neat because that's what you want, is a community that you're serving. And so he built a community around his actual product, which I thought was genius. And it ended up selling for like $200 million or something like that. And he never advertised. He just did that event for years.
So how did he monetize on that? Was it like a yearly membership?
I don't know I can't remember the structure of the actual business itself, or like the software. If it was an annual subscription or monthly, I'm not sure. I think it was a pretty like B2B software type situation. So I know those contracts sometimes are bigger, longer term. But yeah, I'm not sure. I know that now he's launched another company with all the learnings he's had from that one. He's doing another software company, and I think it is more of a mass appeal SaaS company. It might be monthly fees and that kind of thing. And it's doing great as well. Like he's just kills it.
Right. And MyCast, how do you monetize that? What's the business model behind that one?
Right now, it's just display ads. We're working on some other ways. And we allow people to feature content on the homepage if they want to, so they can pay to like feature their stories, or if they're an actor and they want to feature themselves and get more exposure to the MyCast community, they can pay to be featured on the homepage. But that's something we're really working on, is try to figure out better ways to monetize, like leveraging things like affiliate networks and things like that, so that we don't have to use as many ads all over the website, because it really hurts the user experience. And I hate it for the users right now because there's so many ads. I know it's annoying. And so we're really trying to solve that. So it's a better experience, and all the people who have used it for years can just enjoy using the site and being part of that community. And that's an example of another one where there's a thriving community around fan casting. And MyCast just happens to have become a pretty solid hub, other than the big, huge social networks or forum websites like Reddit, Facebook or whatever. There's a lot of fan casting that goes on across all of social media. But as far as independent websites, I think we're probably number one when it comes to fan casting. And so if you search anything related to fan casting and an actor's name, we're usually in the top of search results for that.
Right. And the podcast, where do you want to take it? Have you monetized it yet, or just like insights and potential customer / lead gen?
Yeah, it's more been potential customers, lead gen type thing, just putting content out there. And it was for me to almost like a discipline. I just wanted to go through the discipline of, putting out content on a regular basis, meeting new people, because I'm working remotely. And so for so long, I've just been behind a computer, all day. And it decreases your opportunities to network and meet new people, basically. And so that was a simple way to not waste as much time like driving places and meeting people for lunch or whatever, and just be able to meet other business people virtually, just like I'd have a Zoom call with somebody. And so it's been really cool meeting the different guests that I've had on the show, and learning about how they think, how they do business, and how they got customers. It's been a really enriching experience, not only business wise and opportunity wise, but just personally, my own personal network growth and education.
And where do you want to take your career in the next couple of years? Do you still want to accept these CEO jobs, or do you want to scale and build your own startup empire?
I think for all the different companies I'm involved with, the goal would be to maybe sell eventually, or just get them to a place to where we're happy with the revenue coming in, and just build a portfolio of companies, that's just generating good revenue, that kind of thing. So the end game, isn't really as clear. It's more about, it's almost like the discipline of business, or like the skill of business. I just want to get better at that, just become a better business operator, get better at all the different related skills of business. And the individual entities, yeah, I wouldn't mind selling off one project or another here or there, because sometimes you can get a little cash injection from selling something, and then gives you opportunity to either take a break for a little while or start another project and do something else. And then I kind of lean on real estate to be like a place to hold longer term value. And that's what that Biospherian company you mentioned is. It's like rental property company. So, if you're not sure what to do, doesn't hurt to have a little real estate. That's not going anywhere. A way to potentially protect a little bit of value, but depending on what goes on in the economy, you never know.
Right. Until like a Y Combinator decides to crack real estate and make $5,000 houses.
Hey, they could, right, and just drastically drop the value of homes for sure.
Yeah, let's see what they have. Well, Paris, thank you for showing up today. Where can people find out more about you?
ParisVega.com. So it's ParisVega.com. That links to everything else that I do. And you can find more information about the website digital marketing company, the 9 Digital, and all the other projects I'm involved with, and the podcast. It's all linked to from that website.